right. All right. Let me redo the welcome now that I'm recording it. My name is Brother Stevic, and I've been, this is my 8th year teaching this class. The course number has changed. It's ITM 2020 now, was CIT 225. We are, in this class, we'll be learning MySQL, how to administer it, how to write some queries, and how to design databases. I've been a database administrator / designer for the past 20 years, 24 years, actually. I started around 2000, 2001. Self-taught on Microsoft SQL Server. I've worked on Oracle. I've worked on MongoDB. I've worked on MariaDB. I've worked on CassandraDB, MySQL. I've worked on pretty much every database system there is. At one point in time, I was working every possible job at the same time you could in IT. I worked at a tech school in West Palm Beach, Florida, where I was the email administrator, the systems administrator, the firewall guy, the database guy. I did everything there. Ended up settling on databases because I love databases. I love, if you read the announcement I talked about it, like, to me, they're an art form because it's all about the flow of the data. How do you get the data to flow from one place to another and be understandable when it gets there? We're going to be talking about that a lot in this class. These Tuesday night meetings serve a couple of purposes. One, they let me have some FaceTime with you guys to answer any questions in a live setting, whether you're trying to track me down through emails. It lets me go over the lesson for that week with you. Lets me give you anything that's going on. Plus, in these classes, I talk about a lot of stuff that isn't in the books. I talk about a lot of stuff that isn't in the curriculum. Because if we're being honest, since this is an online course, you could really just do this stuff on your own and figure it out on your own. So I like to bring a little value to what you're doing here and try to give you more of a insight to how databases work and how life in the real world is. If of the 4 of you here, does anyone is database administration your end goal, or are you is this a stone on your path to something else?
More of a fun as a database administrator kind of an idea.
Yep.
So
Is that where you're looking to go in?
yeah,
Yep.
I have my computer network engineering degree as an associate, but they also throw on cybersecurity as a title onto it as well.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
So the only thing I'm lacking, since I know how it flies to the network, I just don't know how it sits in a network.
Okay. Yeah.
So
It's funny when back when I did my initial certification for databases, I was required to take networking courses and firewall courses. It was different back then, but no, it's great. I'm glad to see, and I'm sure if anyone else you may change your mind. I because I love databases and how they work and how they function, and really it's the heart of the IT industry. If you don't have data, you don't have a company. So it's one of those, I wouldn't necessarily call them bulletproof jobs, but it's something that AI is never going to take over because AI can't figure out a lot of stuff yet. Who knows what's going to happen in a couple of years or not. But okay, so the purpose of tonight, we're going to go over the kind of way the class works, what you'll do on a week-to-week basis. We're going to cover talk about a couple of future things that are going to happen in this class, like the final project. We'll talk about that for a little bit. We won't really get into the details of the final project until week 3. And that's when we start doing a really deep dive into what the final project is. So any questions about me and my background before I jump into what we do here?
I think you're all good.
All right. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Just share it all. All right. So, here we are. Excellent. Move you. Put you up there. Let's put you at this. Put you down here. Okay. Okay. So, this is kind of a preach to the choir thing, but one of my main ways of communicating with you guys is the announcements and these videos. So please, if you can't, if you're not here on a Tuesday, that's totally cool. This isn't required, mandatory. This is all, extra value stuff that we talk about here. But at least check the announcements, because a lot of the stuff I put in there and the announcements are important. For example, how to get the textbook that is in this week's announcement. So I'm assuming everyone here has had the textbook already. So every week, there's basically the same format that goes to the week. You have 4 assignments to do during the course of the week. Week 2 is a little different. We're going to go over how that's different. The first thing you'll see when you open up week 1, the week, is you'll see a preparation and reading. And this is what we're supposed to be talking about. So we'll actually talk about this next week. We're going to talk about, I'll go into a whole lecture about these particular objectives. There's no code you're writing this week, so there's no real media assignments this week. But we'll talk all about this next week in the next lesson. Then you have your reading assignments. Now, the first thing here, it gives you the chapters to read in the book. So I was telling Alton before everyone else got here, the book you have is a great book. It is full of information. It has everything you're going to need to pass this class, but it is not the kind of book that you sit down and read. It is not an enjoyable fiction book that you sit down with a cup of cocoa and flip through and enjoy the read. It's nothing like that. It is a textbook. It is a reference book. And I encourage you to use it so. If you're working on an assignment and need to find something, look in the index, find the section, and read that part. If you're into reading textbooks, knock yourself out. You'll love this one. I am not, and it is an excellent reference book. Having said that, every week comes with PowerPoint slides. The PowerPoint slides outline what is in the book that you need to know. I highly encourage you to go through the PowerPoint slides. You will also have a series of videos and/or web pages that are recommended to you. I strongly suggest that you go through them, because every week there is a quiz, and every week information comes from the web pages, not the book. It is in the book, but it's not as clear in some cases as on the web pages that you're installing. Like we'll get more next week, but like here, installing SQL, this all here will be critical this week as you install SQL and get the Sequila database set up. So yeah, so every week is the same thing. Here's what you're learning. Here's where the information is for you to go find it. This week is a little different because there's a lot about going into SQL and doing something. Now, this part here about granting root access to privilege. So you're trying to grant root access to the student account that you're going to create. I'm going to tell you this right now. If you do this and it doesn't work, don't lose sleep. Because you never log in as a student again. This is just a one-shot deal to try to explain to you how to set permissions in MySQL, and they also do it through the command prompt and not the GUI, so it's far more complicated. So if you do this and it doesn't work, it's totally fine. The world's not going to end. Just move on. Because you'll be working on the workbench for the duration of the class, and you don't log into the workbench that way. This week, so you'll also have a quiz, a 25-point quiz. There's no time limit. There's no multiple attempts. The quiz is like, did you read the book? Did you look over the stuff? Did you do that? The other thing, it's not question about the content. It's a question, did you do what you're supposed to do? So that's the first thing you're looking at, is the preparation reading. Next thing, in week 1, we have this discussion. So we have this help others emotionals. There is a discussion board. We use it in week 1 for the icebreaker, and everyone's been doing that, which is fantastic. After week 1, it's a tool to use to reach out to people. I'm finding as the years go on, fewer people use it. So if you post something there, I'll respond to it. It's easier to text me or email me with your questions or get me through Canvas. But they'll always talk about this, the devotional, because it used to be that in the discussions every week, there was a requirement for everybody to give a spiritual thought, but they stopped that. Every week you'll also have exercises. Exercises are questions about what you've learned that week. There are 3 to 7 questions every week. They are not fill in the blank. Some of them are fill in the blank, but a lot of them are write the code to answer the question. If you don't know this now, you will know this in the next couple of weeks, that the answers to these questions, for the most part, are in the back of the book. For the first 3 to 4 weeks, the questions that are in the exercises come directly from the back of the book, and the answers are there. After week 5, we've mixed in some things that aren't in the back of the book. You might wonder why we put the questions from the back of the book in the quizzes. It's because when you're dealing with something like coding, yes, it's valuable to write the code on your own, but it is just as valuable to reverse engineer the code and figure out how it got to where it was. So I do encourage that, reverse engineering code. Matter of fact, sometimes you guys will, a student will like email me and ask me for help on a particular exercise question. And what I will do is I will just send them what I refer to as skeleton code, which is that the answer with pieces missing that you got to fill in the blank on yourself. So, so your exercises, that's every week. There's like 2 to 7 questions. It's worth 25 points. The only week you will not have exercises is week 2. In week 2, I'm sorry, not, you'll have exercise in week 2. You won't have something else. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. Now, every week you'll have a quiz. The quiz is open book, open notes, open friend, open whatever, open internet. Has anyone here ever heard of Proctor, what was it called? I hate the word. I've dismissed it from my,
Yes.
hmm?
Proctorial.
Proctorio,
Proctorial.
yeah. So, we don't use that in the class, because we have a specific assignment that validates us, so we don't have to. The reason for Proctoro is to prove it that's you taking the class. And if you've never used it before, what you do is you log into Proctoro, you share your screen, someone watches you take a test. It's not to keep you from cheating, it's to prove that it's you taking the class for accreditation purposes. I'll talk, there's an assignment that's due in week 2 that makes it so we don't have to use Proctoro. Anyway, every quiz, 25 points, 5 to 7 questions, open book, multiple attempts, 2 attempts, best score of 2 is taken. I'll tell you this now, that in the tests and the quizzes, there are some questions that are, they're trick questions. There are questions that are asked the same way 3 times with one word different. And there are some questions that shouldn't be there. I've weeded them out as much as I can. They add new questions to the test bank. I don't create this course, I just teach it. And they add new questions to this test bank every semester. I go in there and try to correct them as best I can. If you come across a question that you don't understand or you think is wrong or you know is wrong, please contact me through Canvas. Let me go in and fix it and fix your scores to make sure you get the proper score, because I'm not going to punish you for a bad question. Everyone still with me? Just like give me a show of hands or.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks, Ann. Excellent. All right. Every week you'll have a paper. The paper is a prompt like this one here. It's a case study. You've joined a new company. While you thought you were prepared, your manager believes you have a lot to learn. And they want you to compare the IDEs using the CLI versus the GUI. You're expected to write a 3 to 5 paragraph paper on the case study and submit it every week on the prompt. The only time you do not do this is week 2. And we're going to talk about we do that in a second. Every other week, you provide this paper, unless you choose to do the final project. And I'll get to that after I talk about next week's assignment. So like I said, every week you've got a case study. You write a paper based on this. There's a rubric in the grading key. It's basically just making sure that this is my way of knowing that you understand what's being talked about that week. Because whatever the task is, if about select statements or update statements, they ask you to explain them. Okay. It's essentially just like it says, it's a memo to your boss that you're learning the stuff he's asked you to learn. Next week, however, there is no paper due. Next week is what we call reverse engineering a website. This is a very, very simple assignment. All this asks you to do is prepare it says 5 to 10 minutes. I'm not going to watch 27 10-minute videos. Max 5 minutes video. Find a website that you think has a database back end, and just explain to me what you think that back end looks like. What do the tables look like? How they talk to each other? If you have no idea what a database is, just kind of say, I think this, after this week, you should have a general idea what tables are and what all this stuff is. So just kind of tell me what you think it is. In next week's meeting, I will demo a video. I will go through the process of reverse engineering a website and show you guys what we're looking for in that assignment. But the key thing for this is it's on video, so I have proof that you're taking the class, or at least you did week 2's work. And secondly, it gives me a general understanding of where you are in your understanding of what databases are. I don't expect diagrams. I don't expect flow charts or PowerPoint presentations. It's just you with the website and explaining how you think the back end works. I do encourage you to choose something simple, not like Amazon or Family Search. Those databases are incredibly complex, and they take a really, really, really long time to explain. Funny story. Every year I do this. Every semester I do this. I talk about don't choose Family Search. 3 semesters ago, I actually had someone who worked for Family Search in the class. They were a DBA for Family Search. So he used Family Search because he understood it. But anyway. So that's so every week, except for next week, is a written paper. Next week is the reverse engineering of a website. Now, again, we're going to talk about this more in week 3. In this class, there is a final exam. The final exam is 180 points. It is open book, open notes, open friend, open internet, open all the quizzes from before, because the final exam question base are the previous 13 weeks quizzes. So you will see the questions again. If you do not want to do a final exam, you can opt to do the final project. It is an either or situation. It's not both. The final project requires you to come up with an idea for a database that has some kind of functionality that you would use in your life or you think everyone should have. And then design the database that would power that application, and then come up with an idea on how the front end would look. And at the end of the semester, you're going to turn into me the database design, the code to build the database, the code to populate the database, and then several case studies on how to use the data. For a very, very long time, this class is called Database Architecture and Design. But we didn't have a design element. You guys weren't designing anything. You were just doing what you were told and following the steps in the book, but there was no creativity. This allows you to be creative. In the past, I've had students who've done databases for food storage, databases for Pokemon cards, databases for comic books, databases for they designed a database to keep the data for all the parks in their local area, like what the amenities are and all that stuff. So the coolest one with the food storage, not only did they do a database for food storage, they added to it a recipe database. So you could query the database and see what you had, what ingredients you had for what recipe and what you could make tonight. I was trying to help them randomize it because we always have the problem, never know what we want to make for dinner. So just ask the app and it'll tell you. So yeah, so this is a project we do a portfolio and submit it to me at the end of the semester. If you choose to do the final project, you are no longer required for the weekly papers to follow the prompt that is there. If you choose to do the final paper, the final project, you will instead on those weekly papers, with the exception of week 2, basically tell me where you're at, what you're doing, and how it's going, and any help that you need. So essentially, as of week 3, the weekly papers turn into a journal entry telling me how you're doing on your final project. And it could be as simple as this week I decided I'm going to make a database to track my baseball card collection, or to something as complex as I'm moving around these 3 ideas. Here are my ideas. What do you think? So that's the final exam. So next week, not next week after next, week 3, which is where this is located, we assign this, we talk about this and assign this in week 3 because it takes about 10 weeks to do. Because this has to be turned in on week 13, by the latest week 13. I'll always take it early. But it has to be in by the latest week 13 or I won't be able to grade it. Okay. A couple other housekeeping things. Maybe I'll get into this stuff. I'll start talking about this stuff today. A couple other housekeeping things. Late work. I'm always asked about late work. I understand that we live in a world where things distract you and get in your way and things change and life events happen. I have, like I said, been doing this about 8 or 9 years now. I have never had a semester where someone hasn't had a baby in their family born, someone hasn't had a death in their family, someone hasn't had some sort of tragedy in their family, someone hasn't had a celebration in their family. Every year someone gets COVID and is out for a week or 2. So I understand that life happens. So I have a fairly liberal late work policy. I will take late work until week 10. So the Saturday of week 10, anything that's turned in late from that point in time, up before then, I will take and grade and not penalize. After week 10, I do not accept late work, including if you're late on week 10. So week 10, you can, if you submit everything week 1 through 9 on week 10, and it's late, you do that, but you're late on week 11, I don't accept week 11. Okay. I used to take late work the entire semester, but that was abused pretty handily, and people were like turning all their stuff in on like the last day of the semester, and that was just grading all that was just not working for me. So week 10 is my limit. I'm not a Sith, so I don't do absolutes. If you have a situation in your life that is difficult for you to turn the work in past week 10, please reach out to me. We'll talk about it. We'll figure something out. I'm not unreasonable. But if you turn things late in on week 12 and you have not spoken to me, I'm not going to accept it. You just need to let me know what's going on. And let me work with you and help you find a way to get through the class. It's not my job to fail you. It's not my job to make this hard. It's my job simply to guide you through this journey of databases, and I want to make it as easy and as enjoyable as possible. So just keep communications open with me. That I think so. Tuesday night meetings 8:30 every week until week 10. Week 10 is the last time we meet on a Tuesday night. After that, it's one-on-one basis for projects only. By the time week 10 rolls around, I will have talked about all the code and then some that you need to learn for this class during those weeks. I don't think normally there's one Tuesday in a semester that I have to miss, but right now, barring hurricanes, power outages, or anything weird happening here in the state of Florida, I shouldn't miss any of the Tuesday nights. So on the Tuesday night generally, I will go over a bunch of code on how to write it, show you a bunch of examples, give you those examples, talk about other stuff that's going on, give final project examples, and end it there. That covers all my housekeeping. Any questions on anything that I've covered on housekeeping, what the assignments are, how to do them? Don't get into your head that you don't have to do the papers. I've had students, at least one or two students every semester, who will do everything except the papers, and you will end up with a D plus, depending on how you do it. If you don't do the papers, you're not going to get better than a D, mathematically. So do the papers. They're a bit laborious, unless you're doing the final project, and then they're not so bad. But make sure you don't leave those out. Everything's like everything's 25 points every week, so a third of your grade is the papers. And did you have a question? I saw you come off mute.
I did for a second. I just wanted to verify. So we're not going to use like Microsoft Teams or anything like that.
I have access. So I have access to Microsoft Teams, my chats. The easiest way to get in touch with me is texting me, and my phone number is in the announcements. The second easy way to get through me is through Canvas. I use Zoom. I don't use Teams. I can use Teams. I check it every day. But if you need to contact me, the easiest way is texting me. The second easiest way is canvassing me or emailing me. Or straight up calling me. I don't if you call me, that's cool too. Just remember, I don't know where y'all are. I'm in Florida, so it's 10 o'clock my time here. Keep that in mind if you're gonna call me.
Okay. And then for like the group stuff, it's just going to be through Canvas,
Yeah,
through
there's
whatever that is.
we don't really, I mean,
We don't really do that.
this class really used to have a group element to it. We don't really do that anymore. It's kind of more of a community effort that if you have any questions through these meetings or through the discussion boards, there really isn't. There used to be group assignments, but there aren't anymore. This is all individual work.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I do encourage you to talk to people in the class, post questions out there if you have any problems. But for the most part, this is the big group work here. What's up, Alton?
So this actually goes back to like which version of the SQL installer for Windows. I'm actually looking at two versions that are there. It's still 8.0.36, which is the newest version there. But there's a size difference between one being like 2.1, I'm not sure if that's megabytes or millibytes, and then there's another that's same version but 2.85.3 M. I'm just a little confused which one I would have to download.
So let's go here. So we're gonna go ahead and find the one on Windows. It's been a minute since I've done this, so bear with me.
Because I'm seeing there's a newer version than what you have listed, and
yep. Oh yeah, that's because these versions change all the time. So you want 8.036.
Okay.
And you want they're both okay, so the difference is this first one isn't a full download. It's an engine that downloads while it's going on. This is the full download.
Okay, so go for the 2.85.
Yeah, I would do I always do this one because I always worry that a bad internet connection is gonna stop the install from happening. Yeah, this is just the full install. This is the this yeah. So just both will do the same thing. Both will get you to the same place. Yeah, the because the versions change every 6 months, they don't ever change. I need to update that. It's something I can do. I just never remember to do it. But 8.036. If anyone here has MySQL installed from a previous class, just use that one.
I was just gonna ask that if we have it previously.
Yep. Just
Do we need to update it or does it automatically do that?
did you have the Sakila database?
I do.
Yeah, then you're fine.
Okay,
Then
don't
you're fine.
worry about it.
The only thing that may happen if you had the Sakila database from a previous class, you've changed it. When you run the queries to get, you'll be asked to run queries in the exercises, and they'll say these are the results. The results may not be the same.
Right.
So what you could do with that case is delete the Sakila database and reinstall it or reattach it in a fresh copy. But if you have a previous one, it's fine.
Okay.
Don't need to reinvent the wheel. Any other questions?
Not really.
All right. Then let's talk a little bit about databases. All right. So a database, well, let me ask you this. Can you see this? In my hand, I hold a notebook. Is that a database? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Anything is a database. A database is just simply something that holds information. Our brains are databases. Excel spreadsheets are databases. And MySQL is database. The difference between the two, and we're talking about here, the relational model. There's what do I want to do here? Do I want to use? Let me use Notepad here. Notepad. Okay. So one of the acronyms that we use is called RMDB. RMDB stands for Relational Model Database. When you're dealing with an Excel spreadsheet, you have a billion columns and just kind of pound the data into there, and it's not really organized. It's all into one big giant pot of stew, and it's hard to differentiate the stuff out. When you're looking at a relational model database, you have tables that hold information, and they work together to provide a big picture of what's in that database. There isn't just one thing that holds all the data. It's several objects in the database. So in a relational model database, you have tables, and these hold the data. There are some rules to tables. Rule number 1, only contains data relevant to the name of the table. Meaning, if you have a table that's called customer, okay, in there would be the customer's name, the customer's address, the customer's birthday. In that table would not be what the customer bought. In that table would not be how the customer pays for their products. In that table would not be anything other than the data that directly pertains to the customer. Because we have this thing called the 3 forms of normalization. Okay. And then, so in the three forms of normalization, there's rules that go with this. And one of the rules is tables only contain data that's pertinent to what that table's about. Okay. That is because we want to keep things clean and organized. And now a lot of things I'm going to talk about tonight, we're going to talk more in detail as the weeks go on. So this is just kind of like let's start talking about how this stuff works. Another rule of tables. Names are not plural. It's not the customer's database, it's the customer database. That is not a steadfast rule. That's not, you're not going to go to jail for not doing it that way, but that is the accepted standard that we do not pluralize table names. Tables must have a primary key. All a primary key is, it's the main column that the table is indexed off of. If you do not make one in your table, the SQL engine will make one for you. And it will see a column and say, this is the primary key. That's how important it is. It'll do it for you. But you always want you never want to trust a computer to do something for you, because the computer is not looking out for you. It's not your best interests. Primary key. Those are really the three basic rules for tables. Anything else? I mean, there's other stuff that it can have, but those are the three things it must have. Must only contain data relevant to the table. I'm going to tell you not to pluralize names and make it a must, because it's the industry standard. So if you go out and start creating tables, you'll get it. It'll fit in. And then every table must have a primary key. Everything else is up to you. Nothing else is critical. Okay. So, T-SQL language. So SQL stands for structured query language. T stands for transactional. The language that we talk about in this class, and the same language that's taught every database engine, Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle, MySQL, MongoDB, Cassandra DB, NoSQL, every one of them all use T-SQL as their main language. They understand other stuff, but every database engine uses T-SQL. Maybe a different dialect, a couple weird differences here and there, but it's all the same T-SQL. It's called transactional. It's transactional. Structured query language. Okay. It's structured query language because there's a structure to it. When we start talking about queries, they're very formulaic. Once you understand the pattern on how you write them, it's very easy to write transactional SQL queries. It's called transactional because that's how data gets put into the database. They're called transactions. Every query you run is a transaction. We're going to get into a lot of detail on that on week 4 about what it actually means to be transactional and why it's really super cool that it's transactional. There are two main types of language in a database in T-SQL. There's DDL and there's DML. DDL is data definition language. And DML is data manipulation language. Wow, that was a gross misspell. Manipulation language. I'd like to say this would be better if we were in a classroom with a whiteboard. It'd be just as bad. So there are other types of languages within Transact SQL, but these are the two main ones. Chapter 2 talks about other ones. Their answers on the quiz, you'll only need to know them for that. In life in the world, you talk about these two. Data definition language is they create or modify the schema. The schema is the structure of the database. It's the tables, it's the indexes, it's everything. That's the schema. So DDL is the language of creation. The commands in this are create, alter, and drop. The very, very cool thing, and the reason why I love T-SQL so much, it's because it's English. Anyone here, Alton and Matthew or Caleb, have you ever coded in like VB or C# or C++ or anything like that?
No, to be honest, this is my first time doing any of this besides Pythoning.
And how about you?
I've done C#, Java, JavaScript,
Okay.
HTML, a few of those, yeah.
Okay. So that's not
I
English,
haven't done
right?
it.
No.
No. So it's a bunch of weird symbols. I was my IT claim to fame is I was one of the first 200 people in the world to be certified in C#. That and 50 cents will get me a soda somewhere, right? And I haven't coded it in a long time, but it's not English. Transact SQL is English. Create, alter, drop. Create, make something, alter, changes it, drop, deletes it.
So
You
like
want
in
to create a
chapter one,
database?
like in chapter one, when it's doing like when it was writing out the prompts and having like the I don't remember the symbols, so similar like how you're talking about it of how it's written inside SQL basically.
Yep,
When you're trying to
basically.
make a
Yeah.
table.
We're gonna get into
Oh,
a lot of detail on that, but like if you want to create a database, the command is create database and then name. And you run that, you create a database named Bob. That's all it takes.
huh,
You want to
cool.
drop the database, you drop database Bob.
This sounds so much better than Python right now, to be honest.
Oh yeah. Oh, Python? Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, way better than Python.
It throws me for a loop every time.
What's that?
I'm always trying to make it more complicated.
Yeah, you can make it more
You get
complicated.
used to
Trust me,
it,
when
yeah.
we get into joins and all that other stuff, you can complicate the heck out of this stuff. But Transact SQL at its basic is very, very simple. So create, alter, drop. There's your data definition language. Data manipulation language. This is the language that deals with the data that's inside the structure. This is how you manipulate the data, how you insert the data, how you change the data, how you delete the data. The commands here are select, insert, update, delete, and then this special child called truncate. These are the commands that alter the data within the structure. Select shows it to you, insert puts it there, update changes it, delete deletes it, and truncate flushes it. So if you want to select something from a table, you select star from table. And that is your basic query that will get you the information that's in that table. And again, we'll go into more detail on that as the weeks go by. We do a lot of coding in the weeks to come. Okay. I am not going to talk about data types, all this stuff here. I have a much, much longer conversation about data types and all this other stuff in the coming weeks. But I just wanted to give you guys kind of a feel for what we're talking about here, what we're doing here, and just kind of a broad overview of what's to come. We're about 14 minutes to the end of the class. Does anyone have any questions on what we've talked about? Anything on what to expect in the class? Anything on anything?
Honestly, sorry, real quick. I am
You
super
go
impressed
first,
about the C# thing.
Was
Just so
that
you know,
was that?
I'm super impressed by the C# thing.
Oh,
Just-
thanks.
Just wanted you to know.
Well, the thing is, so what ended up happening was I working for that training school in West Palm Beach, and C# as a language had just been introduced in 2000. And my job was to train this stuff for people. So I had to self-teach C#, and then I took. Has anyone ever taken a Microsoft certification exam?
No.
Not yet.
They're what could I equate them to? Has anyone here having a root canal?
Yeah.
Okay. Imagine a root canal without Novocaine.
Oh, hard.
Yeah. So that's when they're vetted tests. I took the tests as they were coming out of Seattle. So but yeah, I was one of those guys. But it's kind of cool, and I bring it up because I'm in this game for a long time. And I'm now one of those guys. When I first started, like, yeah. Back in the day, I was writing Python scripts and I was doing punch cards. But so Anne, how much do you still program in C#, or is that what your focus is?
I have a class this semester.
On C#?
Yeah.
It's the
So
whole platform that Microsoft made with their .NET architecture is super interesting, because it's so, for Microsoft, for it to be as for lack of a word, agnostic as it is, because it basically takes C#, C++, VB, VB.NET, J#, JavaScript, anything else, and then converts it into the same machine code behind the scenes. And then you can reverse engineer it from there into, so if you create something in C# and compile it into the engine into machine code, there are ways, I don't know what they are, and it's been a long time, but you can decompile that, reverse engineer that into a different language within the .NET framework. Also in the .NET framework is the ability to make your own programming language if you got that kind of free time. Yeah. C# is a very, very, the whole .NET platform is a very, very powerful thing. It's one of the few things that Microsoft did right, to put simply, and it's free. It's all free, which is crazy too. But good luck in the class. It's fun. I think you'll enjoy it. You can also use C# code within MySQL as opposed to writing in Transact SQL, and you can use Transact SQL in C# code, so they interchange. Al, do you have anything to add? Anything to talk about?
More of a personal after the recording's over.
Okay, sure. Matthew, Caleb, you got anything?
I don't have any questions.
Okay. All right. Caleb, you anything?
No, that was me. I didn't have any questions.
Oh, okay. Cool. Okay, so what'll happen at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and kill the recording here in a second. I've been recording this video. I'm going to publish it to my YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. When you get there, if you go to watch the video, you'll see the last 6 years of videos I made for these classes. So if at any time you get, and it's anything post 20, wait, I'm trying to remember. For the first couple of years, we taught Oracle, and then we stopped doing that because that was insane. In the last 5 years, if you're super bored and want to go to sleep, you can check out any of the videos from the past couple of years from the week that we're on, and it will go through. If you need extra help on something like that, you can do that. But yeah, this all got posted there under the spring 2024 heading. Also, thanks to the benefit of AI, there will be an AI transcript of this attached to the announcement that this goes into. So if there's nothing else, I will stop the recording. So my friend Alton can share what he wants to share. Let me find this. And stop recording. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Now